Whenever a brand new Final Fantasy game comes out, there is always a lot of questions surrounding the story, development of the game, and a ton of other details. The developers answer this in the form of a book called the Final Fantasy Ultimanias, each game getting their own, detailing the development history, story details, and everything you could ever imagine. These answer a ton of questions that fans always have. And just recently, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth Ultimania has dropped, and with it, we're getting a ton of translations that are coming out, giving us brand new details on what can even happen in Part 3. This is incredible stuff, so please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We are extremely close to 96,000, so please go ahead and push us over the edge. Today's translations come from Audrey, aka Aitai Kimochi, and here is the important stuff that she's provided for us so far. Kitase has hopes that the world of FF7 may continue on even after finishing the FF7 Remake Project Trilogy, but they need to wrap up Part 3 first and foremost. He thinks that Part 3 will perhaps be his last involvement with the game in the FF7 series due to his age. In lieu of that, he wants to bring this trilogy to a close, with hopes that Cloud and all the characters will be happy at the end. He wants to finish this trilogy on a positive note, without leaving behind any unfinished business, and that's just his own personal opinion on the matter. Now, for my own personal opinion, I really want the completion of this trilogy to bring finality to Final Fantasy VII. I kind of wanted to bring FF7 as a story to a close for the most part, while things like Ever Crisis will certainly continue past Part 3, likely exploring the new multiverse that has been opened up. I think that Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3 should do what the final Evangelion film did for that series. Bring this multiple decade-long journey to a close and let FF7 continue to live on in people's hearts and minds. And after that, I really want Square Enix to focus on making their new Final Fantasy VII. Now, when I say new Final Fantasy VII, I don't just mean a new Final Fantasy game with a big compilation. They've already done that with Final Fantasy XIII and Fabula Nova Crystallis. They did it with Final Fantasy XV Universe. I certainly don't want another big multimedia project. In fact, one thing I can really say about Final Fantasy XVI was that at least the game came out as one complete story. It didn't need any supplemental material or have any sequels or anything like that. That's something that we really haven't had in FF since about 9. It's really been that long. No, when I say the new Final Fantasy VII, I mean I want them to focus on the next big thing that has that level of tremendous impact. The game that we'll be talking about 2 decades from even now. That's what I think is the next major thing to focus on. Now, with that being said, when they were making Final Fantasy VII, they also didn't approach it with thinking, let's make the next FF7, because there wasn't one. Of course, I also think that part of that is you can't just really approach it from the perspective of, I want to make the next FF7. You have to focus on making brand new things of the highest quality possible, with faith that their impact can be everlasting. It's not an easy task, but I think that's what they have to do for the sake of their longevity. One series that really comes to mind for me is honestly Zelda. For a while, it really felt like Zelda could live in the shadow of Ocarina of Time forever, but I felt like they really broke free of that with Breath of the Wild in particular. And so I think that it's important to not let Final Fantasy as a series live in the shadow of FF7 forever either. Now, of course, there are new Final Fantasies. There is Final Fantasy XVI, which is also getting a Rising Tide DLC that's coming out later. But hopefully we will also see something new from CBU1 after this, as I think this team, particularly Naoki Hamaguchi, is an extremely talented director, and I would just love to see him direct his own original game from scratch and not really have to be attached to 25 years of history, because of a lot of his ideas, a lot of things that he said in these interviews, I think he is one of Square Enix's best creatives right now. We also got a brand new update on Part 3, because not only do they talk about how long the game is going to take to develop, they also talk about a new surprise. Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3 main story has already been completed. Nomura thinks that they will perhaps start voice recording in the near future. He remarks that Kitase proposed an idea to him about about something very important to include, even though it wasn't in the original game, and Nomura is pondering how to deliver. He thinks it will surely make people happy if they can do it well. Kitase hopes to deliver an amazing product for Part 3 without having to sacrifice quality over time. He says the reason why FF7 Rebirth was such an efficient development period was because they retained the same staff as the previous installment, and Part 3 will also have the same team. Kitase mentions that FF7 Rebirth was actually done within 3 years. Since about 1 year was developing the DLC, he hopes to be able to stick with that schedule for Part 3 too. It's incredible that Part 3's story is already complete and that they're going to be starting voice recording for it soon. But I think what impresses me the most is that, this team had to do Intergrade and Intermissions DLC. So they spent a year doing that before moving on to Rebirth. And so Rebirth's core development time was only 3 years. That is incredible, almost unheard of for AAA development. And again, for all these companies that continue to do these mass layoffs even after they have a successful game, the biggest reason they attribute to why it's able to go so fast is keeping the team together. They don't have to retrain staff. They don't have to go through an insane hiring process to find new people when they already have talented workers that they hold on to. This is an incredible point to note with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth's success. Employee retention, team retention is what makes better games. Who would have imagined? When people are treated well, they can make good products. It should be common sense, but it is not how so many of these studios are ran, unfortunately. Now, of course, what's most curious about all of this is this idea that Kitase has. Something it says here he felt was very important to include, even though it wasn't in the original game. And even Nomura doesn't really know how to deliver it. This is insanely curious and perhaps a little worrying too, because I'm really thinking what it could be. They said that they think it will make everyone really happy if they can do it well. Now, my mind immediately starts racing whenever you read something like this, right? Because one thing that my mind goes to, especially whenever you compare it to this previous statement here, where Kitase was talking about wanting to make the characters happy, wanting to make Cloud happy. One of the easy things that you can really do with that is try to do the fan service thing of making sure that Zack and Aerith are alive by the end and having this sort of golden ending. Now, I don't really think everyone would like that. I know some people would. Some people just want to see these characters happy. They think they suffered long enough and they don't want to see any more of that. Me personally, I think that it would take away a lot if everyone by the end was just alive together, especially all in one world. I think that is a way in which they would try to end Final Fantasy VII, to conclude it by saying, look, you got this big golden ending, everyone's alive and happy. I think that would really take away from the story. I don't think that's what they're going to do, but I think that that is one potential way to read this. It's not the way that I would prefer to read this, but it is one way in which you could. I'm just hoping that whatever this is, Kitase's hunch that it will make people happy is true and on point. Despite what many people think, Kitase is actually the one who is a lot more out there on his ideas about what he wants to do with this remake project. Kitase and Nomura have bumped heads a couple of times on which direction they would like things to go in this remake project. A lot of Nomura's ideas from the interviews seem a lot more grounded than some of Kitase's stuff, but it's really hard to tell the minutia of every single decision that gets made and what the process of greenlighting these things is like. But it is really exciting to know that if this is going to be done within 3 years, that we could be looking at Part 3 in 2027, which is insane because that also means that this remake project from 2014, when it first started development, all the way to 2027 will have taken 13 years to have been completed. That is completely nuts. But please let me know in the comments what you guys think Kitase's something very important to include could possibly be. And I'll see you all in the next video. Later, guys.